Thanks, Lascan Corla. Taoiseach, in the Irish Times today it's reported that the government is considering reducing tax on rental income. Why on earth should people pay less tax on passive income than they pay on earned income? Why on earth should a tenant pay a higher rate of tax on their income than a landlord pays on their income? The justification for this is the idea that there's a flood of landlords out of the market, they have such a hard time and so on. The evidence doesn't back that up. One, we have the highest rents on record. The total going to landlords in 2022 was 4.7 billion euros. Private rent to private landlords compared to 3.1 billion in 2016. And actually we know that the private rented sector is getting bigger rather than smaller. The answer in terms of evictions is for the state to buy with tenants in situ and leave the tenants in place.
Taoiseach, to conclude, 1 minute.
Thanks very much, Deputy. I'll be as quick as I can. Certainly when it comes to multi-unit developments, all of them should have a sinking fund. A portion of the management fee should go into that every year, so it builds up over 20 or 30 years, and there's a pool of money then to carry out any works that need to be done. Whether you live in an apartment or a house, every 30 years or so you have to do major works to it. That's the nature of buildings, and that is money that the owner has to pay. In terms of the Acts review, I don't know the timeline on that, but I will check with Minister Bryan and come back to Deputy Callan on it. And similarly, I'm not familiar with Home Hack, but we will ask the RTB to look into it. In terms of any tax package for small landlords in the budget, again, no budget decisions made on this, but any time we bring in a tax incentive or tax concession, it is done for a reason. We brought in a rent credit in the last budget, for example, which means that somebody renting pays less income tax than somebody earning the same amount of money but pays their mortgage or owns a house, and we did that in recognition of the very high rents that people have to pay. But I have expressed the view, and I express it again, that if there is any tax concessions for small landlords, it must be linked in some way to benefits for the tenants as well. It can't be just about the landlord. I agree with Deputy Durkan and others in terms of housing progress being welcome but still too slow, and we are increasingly using modern methods of construction. We have the new Construction Technology Centre driving that, and also the training centre in Mount Lucas, and I'm a big supporter of modular builds and modern methods of construction, but we also need to be realistic. The promise of them being cheaper and a hell of a lot quicker has never really been realised. Might be quicker, rarely cheaper, has a role to play, but need to be realistic about the extent of the difference it can make. On the housing adaptation grants, I think that review is complete or nearing completion with Minister O'Donnell at the moment, and it does look at the issue of income thresholds and also the amount of grants that may be needed given the scale of construction inflation in recent years. Deputy Barry mentioned housing issues. What are we doing to reduce rents? We have the rent pressure zones. We've introduced the rent tax credit. We're investing in cost rental housing in particular, which will benefit a lot of people, building more social housing, which allows a lot of people to come off HAP into social housing, thus freeing up housing for others. And they're the kind of things that we're doing to bring down the cost of renting. While there are vacancies in a lot of schools, it is worth pointing out that there are more teachers in Ireland than ever before, registered with the Teaching Council, employed by the Department of Education, and we are negotiating with, or at least we have initial talks now with the public sector unions on the next pay deal and the next pay round, which relates to the amount that public servants, including teachers, get paid. And then finally, I just want to join with Deputy The Hart in welcoming the progress made by South Dublin County Council in acquiring 99 houses from landlords under the tenant in situ scheme. I think it's a very good scheme. It means that people who have been maybe on HAP or on RAS for a prolonged period of time can become regular social housing tenants, and glad that that's really taking off, not just in South Dublin but all over the country.